What is going on? What's up? What's up, GFC? Hey, just getting the show started. Usually I obviously get started with, myself in frame, but right now we're just gonna play some videos. That way, give some people some time to roll in. Actually, hold on. Technical difficulties on my part. I have an external speaker, and so I need to connect to my AirPods. So, excuse the technical difficulties. I think we should be good now. All right. We're just going to take a listen to some of these Cayenne GTSs with the V8, the 4.8 liter. As you can hear, it sounds pretty good. Let's listen to a little bit of that. Here on the dyno, see what we're working with today. Just give a little credence to why we're talking about this specific Cayenne. A lot of it has to do with the sound. We'll get some interior sound clips. As you can hear, it doesn't sound too bad. Shout out to Abdullah Ali, and then for the last one, I'll give him a shout out in a second. But fair use, fair use. So we can hear it has kind of a throaty sound. Obviously, you need an exhaust system to get the most out of it. We're just going to take a listen to some more sound clips. And then one more. Fair use, fair use. But you can hear how nice this sounds, and this is one of the main reasons why people go for the GTS in general. A lot of people go for the Turbo S, but the GTS is still highly desirable, and you can tell that by the prices. What is going on, y'all? On Warren Cars, back again with another car buyer's guide. Today we're going to be doing the Porsche Cayenne GTS, specifically the ones with the V8, and specifically not the newest ones with the V8, because they did bring back the V8 in the most recent times. We're going to be going over the 957 and the 958, so it's going to be the facelifted version of the first generation, as well as the first, the pre-face, I guess the initial version, pre-facelift version of the second version. W Asian Woman Car. Hey, shout out to GMC in the chat. GMC has been showing support since the beginning. Shout out to you, my man. Hope you're doing good down there in Tampa, if you're still down in Tampa. But yeah, W Asian Woman Car. This is funny because the first example of a Porsche Cayenne was actually owned by an Asian woman that I can think of in my life. The first time I saw a Porsche Cayenne was owned by an Asian woman. In fact, their family, they were really rich. I mean, they were half German, half Asian. The dad was German, mom was Asian. They had two Cayenne turbos, which was pretty cool. This was back when they first came out when I was in middle school, and so it was really dope seeing them have two Cayenne turbos on the first model year. Hey, shout out to GMC in Tampa. I'm gonna be back down in Florida, man. Just give me a few. I just gotta get some things sorted, but I'm gonna be back down there. Yeah, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, for example, the Porsche Cayenne came with a lot of different engines. You could get V6, you could get the V8, you could also get a turbo version of the V8, i.e. the Porsche Cayenne Turbo. That's going to be the most famous version. But the GTS, I'd say, has been the most maybe up and coming. I don't know how else to describe it, like most improved, most credit gained in the past, like since it's been released. The car has become super desirable over time simply because of its engine. It has the 4.8 liter naturally aspirated engine, which is you can either get a VR6 with the Cayenne or you can get the turbo V8. This one sits right in the middle. Obviously you can get a V8 with the S. However, the GTS comes with a bunch of different external cosmetic upgrades that you don't see on any other Porsche Cayenne, which is pretty cool. And yeah, the GTS name is just super desirable because of other models of Porsche. Obviously, when they applied it to the Cayenne, it still has the same pedigree. Oh, dang. I didn't know you were a truck driver now, GMC. That's what's up. Oh, you in Delaware right now. Sheesh. Dang. Yeah, I didn't know that. Shout out to you for doing that. Yeah, what else? I guess that's pretty much, was a good intro to this. Obviously, if you don't know what the Cayenne is, it's Porsche's SUV. It came out in like 2002, 2003, around that time, early 2000s. And it was the answer to Porsche's like broadening their market share. I don't know, man. I'm lost in some of these words. Anyway, broadening their market space in terms of their lineup. They figured that they were only making the 911 and the Boxster. They couldn't really stay in business that long because they needed to produce they needed to have like a mass produced car to fund their company, and this is what this car actually did for them. The Cayenne sold better than the 911 and the Boxster, and it actually allowed a bunch of people to get into the Porsche brand that weren't familiar with the brand before, and it's probably the reason why Porsche is becoming is so famous now, is because of the Cayenne. Because it was able to bring all these new people into the brand, they were able to then spend their money on other models, and therefore able to basically keep Porsche in business. So let's see. What demographic? I'm not sure what you mean by demographic. Let's get into the features, options, and problems. Actually, real quick, before that, if you haven't joined my Discord already, I'm sorry to say, but you're missing out. I'm doing the drawing for the $50 right now. So, fortunately, if you haven't joined, it is too late. I'm not going to be adding any more names. So, yeah, let's bring it up right here. So we have, how many? Let's count it out actually real quick. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, demographic. Got you. Okay, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people eligible for this $50. Let me shuffle it a little bit. Make sure it's completely random. All right. Y'all ready? Let's see who wins the $50. All right. And I don't know what your username is, but you are the winner. Yeah, I know where Jessup is. That was close to where I used to go to school. I used to be in College Park. But yeah, N is the winner. So, N, congratulations. Let me take a screenshot real quick. I'm going to put this in the Discord. If you want to win $50 in the next 2 weeks, click the link in the description to join the Discord, and you will be eligible. N. So, and you have, oh, dang, you're going to Jessup tomorrow? What kind of truck do you drive? Like, what size? Is it like a day cab, sleeper cab? Hey, shout out to Jacob in the chat. What's going on, Jacob? Always showing support. Shout out to you, Jacob. Hey, and if y'all are watching and want to win $50, just join the Discord. That's where I pick from. If you don't fulfill the other needs, but you join the Discord, I'll ask you to do it real quick, and then you can win. You can still win if you haven't subscribed, liked, or shared a video. But I would assume that you've done that already, because why are you here if you've done any of that? Sleeper? Oh, that's tough. How long did it take you to get your CDL? Or when did you get your CDL? Yeah, going back to this. So, N, if you haven't, or if you have 24 hours basically to get back to me. Otherwise, I will do another drawing tomorrow. Cool. And yep, so basically if you're new here, which a lot of people are, I've seen a lot of people start to watch my videos, especially over last week. So if you're new here, what we do is we do the features, options, and problems of the car, and then we use the information that we learned in features, options, and problems section to analyze ads that I look at online. And then I'm going to go through like, the options and stuff, trim packages, and the pricing to determine whether or not the price they're asking for is accurate or not, and give you a kind of estimate as to what you should offer if you were to go out and look at these cars yourself. Obviously, my prices are my prices. Whatever price you agree to on when you buy a car is up to you. And if you're happy with that, then it's fine. People try to get at me for like low buying. Like, why does your opinion even matter? This is basically, I'm saying what the car should be worth based on hard facts, like information that we're learning. It's not like I'm pulling it on my butt like a lot of people are saying. They're like, what, where are you coming up with these prices? If you watch the actual show, because lots of people are saying this about clips, it's funny, everyone makes up their mind off of clips. And so lots of people, they watch my clips and be like, what gives you the right to give the price? It's because I went through every single option that came on the car and I priced it accordingly. So there you go. If the videos are too long for you, that's cool. There's this option. It's really interesting and neat. You can actually change the speed of the video to change it to like 1.5 to make it easier to watch. Or if your attention span is too short, you can just exit the video. It's okay. You don't have to be here. Just make sure to subscribe and like on the way out. And you can leave a comment saying how much you think it's too long as well. But other than that, let's get on to the actual show, starting off with the features, options, and problems for the Porsche Cayenne, specifically the 958. Yep, broad market. We're doing the GTS. So obviously the V8 covers the S as well. We're not doing the S, we're just doing the GTS. Let's see. So let me bring up my notes real quick. They're over here. Let me just put this over here. Cool. All right. The reason why I didn't write GTS in the title, even though I really should have, because yeah, I can see how it's confusing if I'm not including the S, is because some of the GTSs actually were not V8s. They actually became a twin turbo V6 right after the model, or the 14 model year, and then up until I don't even know what year it is actually. Hold on, let me I think it's just recently, in the past couple years, the V8 actually returned back to the Porsche Cayenne. However, I just wanted to specify V8s because they did change. I didn't want to say GTS because most people buy the GTS that came after this simply because it is the most prevalent on the market. It is in that time period where it's not new, but it's old enough to be on the market, but it's not too old that people don't want it anymore, or it's not really that popular. So I just wanted to specify V8, but I should have wrote GTS V8 or V8 GTS. Anyway, so we have two generations that this this V8 GTS spans through. The first one being 08 to 10, it's going to be the facelifted version of the first generation Cayenne. So the first generation Cayenne was the 955. However, when they updated it, it became the 957. This is going to be the 957, the 08 to 10. It's going to have 405 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. And then for the 958, this is going to be the second generation. The pre-facelift of the second generation is going to be from 11 to 14 with 414 horsepower and 380 pound-feet of torque. So these cars, they're not that powerful when compared to their weight. Obviously, the powertrain is good. It sounds nice. It's a really potent powertrain for what it is. It's naturally aspirated. However, I want to put it out there that this car isn't going to be that fast, especially when you compare it to the turbo. The V8 in this car is a good engine. It's just the weight of this car being almost 5,000 pounds isn't really optimal in terms of being the most sporty platform to be on. However, people still really enjoy this engine and the dynamics, the power curve, the sound, everything like that. So I'm going to read you some stuff that is standard on the GTS when compared to the base, the S. Obviously, the turbo and the Turbo S are going to have more standard features than the GTS. So I guess when I say standard on the GTS, I'm comparing it to the base and the S model. So we have the Sport Design package, the monochrome black exterior package, sports exhaust, sports seats with memory package, outer door sill guards and stainless steel with GTS logo, dual zone climate control, leather interior and smooth finish leather interior or interior sport aluminum package, steel springs with PASM, which is Porsche Air active suspension management. Porsche active suspension management. You have bi-xenon headlights with Porsche dynamic light system. This is going to be in the 958, so 2011 plus. You have tinted LED tail lights, 2011 plus. Air suspension is standard in 2011 plus. And then the Sport Design steering wheel with shift paddles is also standard for 2011 plus. You'll see the steering wheel differences. In the 957, you'll have that steering wheel with the triangle middle, and you had the option to get a sport steering wheel. I guess it's saying in the 958, you have a 3-spoke sport steering wheel standard. One of the things to note, one of the biggest differences between the models is what they're capable of. The first generation was very, very capable off-road. It came with the locking, differentials as a transfer case. It was a lot more robust and rugged in terms of its off-road capabilities. The new version, the 958, they made it a lot more efficient. It was lighter as a vehicle. It wasn't as capable off-road. It ditched man, I'm losing my words. It ditched the I just literally said it. The center the transfer case. That's what it is. It ditched the transfer case. There was no low speed or high speed anymore. It became more of a standard all-wheel drive vehicle. So just keep that in mind. That's kind of the differences between a 957 and 958. A 957 is going to be more rugged, more capable off-road. It's also going to be cheaper, but it's also not going to have as much standard equipment. It's going to be kind of more of an old school car. You're also going to yeah, that's it. And then the new one obviously is going to be more efficient. It's going to get better gas mileage. The first one actually gets really bad gas mileage, like surprisingly bad. The second one gets decent gas mileage. It's more convenient. You obviously have more technology. It's a later vehicle, but of course it's going to be more expensive. So some things you have to balance on. A lot of people actually go for the 957 simply because they believe it was the best of the 955. Obviously it's the facelift version. It was the best because it took everything the 555 was good at and made it quote unquote perfect. Like, it's as good as it's gonna get for that first generation Cayenne, and those are fundamentally different than the next generation. So a lot of people actually specifically want a 957. 958s, obviously, as I mentioned 3 times now, they became a little bit less capable than the earlier versions. Yeah, exactly. That's what GMC said is, or what Jacob said is actually correct. You know, all the cars over time, people, they're going to be designed for what they're mainly used for. They're going to be designed for what the market demands. And you produce this car that's going to be super capable, but no one uses it. What's the point of doing that when you can sell the same product for the same price without those features that you don't have to spend money developing? Streets were saying that I think Porsche is overrated. Streets are correct. I do think Porsche is overrated. I don't think they're overrated in terms of technology and reliability and everything. I think they're overrated just when it comes with price. You'll see on this, I forgot to mention, but this week is actually going to be our high performance SUV week. And you'll see very quickly that this Porsche Cayenne GTS, although I get it, it's not the highest performing SUV on the market. Even in their lineup, they have the Turbo and Turbo S. This GTS is super underpowered compared to all the rest of its competition. That seems to be the trending theme with Porsche. They all seem to be a little bit underpowered compared to the competition on paper. However, they make up for it in reliability and drivability. The way they drive is superior than most cars, and I can't argue with that. I just the prices, you know, they just you really do pay a Porsche premium. And yeah, so the only thing really that you're getting out of having a Porsche, you're getting that reliability, which is good. I'd have to say that that's probably the best part, but obviously we're not going to sit here and lie. The reason why people buy the Porsche brand is for the Porsche brand. It's very exclusive, and yeah, you can't argue with that. Same thing with designer products. People buy because of the brand. Yes, of course, some of it may be higher quality, but is it worth 10 times more than, you know, a bag that's made of the same thing without the brand name? No. People are going to hate me for that, but it is what it is. And then lastly, the transmissions. The 957 came with a 6-speed Tiptronic transmission, so it's an automatic, and it's an async transmission, Tiptronic. It's what Porsche used for, you know, their non-sporty cars, because obviously they've developed PDK by now, but PDK was not going to be seen on this car. Obviously, it's an SUV. It's not that sporty, even though it's a GTS. So you had the 6-speed Tiptronic. You also had an option of the 6-speed manual, which is very rare. I could not find a single 6-speed manual GTS, but they exist. They're probably about a dozen or so, maybe running around the country. Very rare to find 6-speed manual Cayennes, but there are a few floating around. There are a lot more base ones, the V6 ones, because it is the VR6. It was easy paired to a manual. The 4.8. Yeah, you can find some S's, you can find some GTS's with the I don't know if you can find some S's, but you can definitely find some GTS's with the manual. However, super rare. And then the 958, when they upgraded it, obviously not upgraded it, but when they had the next generation, they ditched the 6-speed manual because, of course, no one was going to buy it, and this car was meant to be more of a convenience item than anything, and people aren't going to put a 6-speed manual in their convenience item. All right, so let's move on to the options. This is a Porsche, of course, so there are going to be a ton of individual options. The thing is with Porsche, which differentiates from other cars, there aren't any trim levels. The trim level is simply the engine. You can get any package really with any trim level. You can have your car however you want. You can have a base car with all the options that you want. It would be weird. It would be kind of a roundabout way of getting a car. You could easily get one with like a non-base, like an. Obviously, the base is going to have the V6, but It's not technically base if you option it out all the way, but that's how they market it. So the base V6, the S is going to be a V8. GTS is also a V8. Turbo is going to be turbo V8. Turbo S is also turbo V8. Just the turbo S is going to come with a little bit more things standard. And the GTS, but the difference between the GTS and the S is the GTS has a lot more standard exterior features, more sporty interior and exterior features. Oh, let's see what the chat is saying. So Jacob said, exactly, that's why I like your videos. It's about the real value. Exactly. I'm going to come up with, look, you know what? Let me actually bring this up because I just want to show you guys. I mean, there's not really much to show, but I do have some progress. I'm coming up with a ranking system for all the cars. That way I can actually give you guys comparative information, and it just makes a lot more sense. So as you can see, I mean, I haven't started it, but I literally just wrote all this in yesterday, and I'm going to start scoring: feature score, option score, problem score, and prices score. So like a FOP score, I guess. I'm still deciding on the name because I don't want to sound so silly. FOP sounds kind of weird. But yeah, we're going to figure out the scores, and then we're going to compare all the cars based on their category in the market, like such as high performance sedan, high performance SUV, economy car, blah, blah, blah. So that's coming soon, just a sneak peek. Anyway, let's get on to these options because there are a bunch. Don't want to keep wasting time. If I can find the page, there we go. Put this over here. All right, options time. Actually, let's do this real quick. Let's do the individual options on the left, and then I'm going to put the packages on the right. So we got these here. We'll make this a little bit smaller so it can fit a little bit better. Make this 9 so I can read. Wow. Okay. And finally, we're going to put that there. That's a bet. Okay, cool. One more. And then we're going to put in these packages. And don't worry, I'll explain what all the packages and everything means. We'll even go through the brochure so we can look at some of the examples. Put that here, and then we'll move this like that. Perfect. Cool. You guys can see that. That's a bet. All right, cool. Let's bring this up. And then what did Jacob said? GMC. He said GMC. It is a VW. It is a VW concerned car, so it is so much better than an Audi Q8 or VW Touareg just because of the sport history. Don't know. So. Okay, so you want to know the difference between the Q8 and the Touareg. So yes, Porsche, there is a difference between all the cars. Obviously, the VW Touareg is... So, I mean, I've been in both. Actually, I've been in all three. Q7, Touareg, Cayenne. So I'd say the difference between all three. The Touareg is kind of like your general car. You can have it optioned to be really base. You can also have it to be optioned almost up to a Bentley. Shout out to my friend Ahmed. He has a really nice Touareg that is it's a 4.2 liter V8 car, and it is so nice. Like the interior is literally on the same standard as Bentley, like in terms of the materials, the colors, and everything. You can also have a really base Touareg. They also made so many engines of Touareg which covered an entire span. You can get VR6s. You probably get 4-cylinder in there too. You can get V8. You can get V10. You can get V12. You can get all sorts of engines in the Touareg. So the Touareg is kind of like a more general car. It's not going to be as nice as it's not going to be as nice as the Audi, right? It's not going to be as sporty as the Porsche. It's kind of more general, but you can get close. The Porsche is definitely going to be the most sporty out of the three in terms of the way suspension is tuned, in terms of the way the engine is tuned, just the way it's set up. It's a much tighter car. It feels much more car-like. In fact, like when you compare a Touareg to a Cayenne, the Cayenne just feels a lot more stiffer. It has less body roll. Granted, I was in an S, so I can't compare to a base car. The base car is probably going to roll a little bit more. And then the Cayenne, if you can get it in very sporty guises. Granted, if you get the Turbo S, it's going to be very luxurious as well. Just the Audi, you're able to get those luxurious features, I guess, for a better price point than the Porsche. Simply because you're not getting those sporty features as well. The Porsche is kind of going to be the best of both, but the most expensive. Audi goes in the more luxurious direction and technology-based direction, so you can get the technology by going Audi. Or if you want to get something cheaper and more all-around, generally, like, yeah, just in general, more like cheaper and, you know, less ostentatious, I guess. You can get a VW, but there are just a whole bunch of different reasons why you get all different ones. I say get a Porsche if you want the most sporty, get an Audi if you want the most luxurious, and get a VW if you're trying to save some money. So, but that being said, as I mentioned before, you can have a Touareg in just about any shape you want. You just can't have it that sporty, but it does get pretty luxurious. And because all these cars are on the same platform, which are built to go off-road, they're all very capable off-road. So you really can't go wrong with any of them. It just depends on what flavor you like. So yeah, individual options, I'll just list them through real quick, and then we'll take a look at the brochure. So first off, you have exterior and interior color, obviously. You also have the biplane roof spoiler, a big option. It's no cost option, so most cars should have it. It's a really cool addition to GTSs. It's like just basically the spoiler on the rear hatch just looks very unique. You have stainless steel skid plates, front and rear. So it's obviously going to be skid plates, not kick plates. Skid plates is going to be front and rear of the car. Bi-xenon headlights with cornering lights is going to be for, okay, so if I don't have 2011 plus, they're going to be for the 957. 2011 plus is going to be for the 958. Just had to, make sure you guys know that. Reverse camera parking assist, Porsche entry and drive, privacy glass, so it's tinted glass, heat insulating laminated glass, excuse me, electric glass sunroof or a panoramic roof. You can get the tow bar either in electric or manual form. So this is a tow bar of electric. It swings out by itself. When you want it manual, obviously you got to put out your tow bar, but it still collapses away. You have an automatic tailgate option, the roof transport system. So it's going to be transverse roof bars. That's your roof transport system, or roof rails are going to be parallel roof bars, I guess, going front and back. So you can get either roof system. You also have your wheel choice. There are a couple different wheel options for the GTS. You also have your TPMS. That's an option as well. Air suspension. All the cars that we're looking at here today do have air suspension. I could not find a GTS here that was optioned without air suspension, which is interesting. Air suspension was an option, but it's on most of the GTSs. Very few GTSs have steel springs. However, that is what they came with standard. You also have PDCC, Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control. I'll show you how to see if the car has this. Very rare option to find. You could get PDCC if you got the air suspension. You can't get it without the air suspension. You can have PASM without the air suspension, but not PDCC. So PASM is Porsche Active Suspension Management. You can have PASM on steel springs. I know it's confusing. So PASM allows you to adjust the rate of the dampening. So stiff, race, comfort, normal, stuff like that. Air suspension allows you to raise the height. PDCC is something that only is available if you have air suspension, but PASM is available if you have steel springs or air suspension. Just something to keep in mind. You also have the Servotronic steering, which is speed dependent steering option. Porsche ceramic composite brakes, PCCBs. You also have HomeLink, cruise control, 3-spoke multifunction wheel. This is going to be that 3-spoke wheel that I was mentioning earlier as opposed to the triangle wheel. This is for the 957. In leather, obviously. You have seat heating, front and rear. Manual rear sunshades, the 4-zone AC instead of 2-zone, which is standard, 6-disc CD changer, aux port, Bose surround system with 14 speakers, compass display, Porsche rear seat entertainment, TVs in the rear, PCM with nav, so Porsche Communication Management, I think that's what it's called, PCM with nav, so it's going to be the screen, either you have PCM or you don't. Auto dimming mirrors are going to be on the 958. These are all going to be on the 958 and down. Porsche Torque Vectoring Plus 2011 Plus as well. Adaptive cruise, lane change assist, 14-way power seats, 18-way adaptive sport seats, and electric rear window shades. These are all going to be your individual options. We'll look at a couple examples in terms of the brochure, but just as soon as I read through these packages. You know what's funny about these? The electrical stuff actually on Porsche is not bad. Porsches are pretty, I want to say they're not the most unreliable. Obviously, Porsches are known for the reliability. However, these are going to be the first generation. Even though they're the facelift, there's still some of them are going to be first generation Cayennes. They're going to have some problems, so I'm not going to say these cars are not problematic. We're going to get into the problems in a second. But I wouldn't say that the electronics, are a big thing to worry about. Most of their stuff is pretty robust. And then for the packages, comfort lighting package is going to be a package available on both 957 and 958. The monochrome black interior package is going to be 958 only. Interior package painted, 958 only. Leather interior package in standard smooth finish leather, 958 only, even though that's pretty standard of a package. GTS interior package, either in carmine red or peridot. I don't know what color peridot is, to be honest. 2011 plus. Leather interior package in two-tone natural or natural two-tone. So these are going to be all your different packages that are available for 2011 plus. As you can see, there are a ton more interior packages because that's what they focused on for the 958 when opposed to the 957. The 957 was more performance and you know, what was it capable of? The 958 was how comfortable it is and you know how much technology does it have. And then you have basic deviated stitching package, which is a fancy German way of saying color contrasting stitching. And then also the carbon fiber interior package. So I know that was a lot, but let's go look at the brochures and see what exactly I was talking about. So here we have a 2009, then we have a 2011, and then we have a 2012. So here we're looking at the 2009. So it's going to be a GTS specific brochure. Let's take a look at the options. Let's look at the colors first. So these are going to be your colors. You have solid exterior colors and metallic. Obviously, you have a bunch. Oh, and special exterior colors. So looking at the color spread, you do have a lot of different colors to pick from. They didn't really lack on any type of colors. You got blues, reds, greens, grays, blacks, orange even. Then you have your interior colors. You got black, stone gray, and steel gray, Havana / sand beige, all sand beige, chestnut brown. I'm really a big fan of these. The sand beige, the all sand beige, where it's like entirely sand beige, the interior, roof, seats, everything looks really good. All black is also really good. Not really a big fan of the black or the stone gray or this Havana. Black / chestnut brown. I've not seen a GTS. Yeah, not available for the GTS exactly. I haven't seen one in this color. So the triple stars obviously not available for GTS. Last one is not, but this is available for GTS. So I suggest finding the sand beige one or black, but obviously looking at the brochure, those are only two options really. That's a nice thing about when I do only one specific version of a car. It's really easy to read through the brochures when compared to doing a whole bunch of general stuff, going over many different models. So as you can see, these are going to be your options. The sport design package is going to be standard on GTSs. So what that includes is exterior paint finish on lower front, side, and rear moldings, extended roof spoiler featuring the fixed biplane wing elements and integral third brake light, side skirts, lower side moldings not included if ordered with the off-road technology package or running boards. So it says off-road technology package. And then I try to type in off-road technology package and it doesn't say anything. Yeah, that's ridiculous. How are you going to say offered with the off-road technology package but not even talk about it? Oh well. I don't know. Anyway, so going back to the options. A ton of pages on this thing. Wow. Come on, there we go. So for the 957, pretty simple packages. There weren't really anything. Most of the things that came with the GTS were standard. As I mentioned, the skid plates. Then you have the options for the bi-xenon lights. And then park, assist, Porsche entry drive, obviously. Oh, here we go. Off-road technology package. And it's not available with the GTS. So, yeah, it didn't even come with the GTS. So, ignore what I just said. I was reading something. Even though this is a GTS brochure, they were talking about something that's not even available for the GTS. You can see it's available for the S, the base, and the turbo. These are going to be your wheel options. So, for the GTS standard, you get this 21-inch Cayenne Sport wheel. It's going to be this one right here. My favorite are obviously going to be the Cayenne Sport Plus wheels. These are going to be these multi-spoke wheels. However, you're really going to see these two options right here. Sometimes you'll see the Sport Technos. Sometimes even the Sport Design. I'm sorry. But if you see these two on the Porsche, they're not stock, obviously. Oh, you want a Touareg? Which Touareg do you have a V8 one or a V6 one? Or do you have a V10 TDI? Which one? But yeah, what was I saying? These two wheels, Sport Wheel and Sport Plus, are going to be what comes standard on the car. Try to look for one with the Sport Plus if you're getting a 957. I think they look a lot better. The V6 diesel, okay, that's a good car too. Does it have air suspension? And what color is it? Like what color interior, exterior? So here's something important. This is going to be a control panel that has PDCC. Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control. This comes with controllable sway bars. So they can disconnect, they can get looser, they can get tighter. Basically, cars with PDCC are going to have silver buttons in the middle, as well as PDCC written right here. Okay, cars with PASM are going to have these 3 buttons. Cars with air suspension are going to have this rocker switch right here. The cars can have PASM with steel springs, so you're going to have PASM, but no air suspension control. PDCC is only available with air suspension. You can't have PDCC if you don't have air suspension. You can have PASM without air suspension, but you can't have PDCC. Cars without PDCC, this entire panel in the middle is going to be black, the same color as the outside. So only cars with PDCC have a silver interior for this, I don't know what to call it, silver middle section for the buttons. So yeah, cars that have steel springs, you're going to have this on the left for your diffs. You're going to have nothing over here, probably like a coin tray. This is with no air suspension and no PASM. Cars with PASM and steel springs are going to have this, but no controller here. Cars with air suspension and PASM, but no PDCC, this will be black in the middle, and it'll have all these controls, but it won't say PDCC, and this part will be black. If it has PDCC, first of all, it has to have air suspension. It's going to have PASM too. So it's going to be silver. It's going to have these buttons, air suspension, and this part is going to be saying PDCC. Roundabout way of explaining that, but you kind of get the idea. Just to make sure, you kind of can tell exactly what a car has by looking at this section. On the 957, on a 958, it's a little bit more complicated. You can't tell if it has PDCC on the 958 like it does say here. What else? So these are going to be your seat options. Let's see, where was it at right here? So standard, you're going to get the sport seats, which look like this. And they have a Alcantara part in the middle. So those are going to be standard. On the 957s, these are probably the only seats you're going to see. And we'll get to the 958s in a little bit, but they have slightly different seat options. You have 2 different options for the 958. And then here we have all the options in terms of multimedia stuff and phone stuff. Not really too important when you're looking at these used cars. The phone stuff I always tend to ignore because it doesn't add much in terms of resale, and it doesn't add much in terms of practicality or features. You're never going to use it. It's just something you can look at. But yeah, other than that, I recommend finding one with the Bose system. Super desirable for one of these. Also, one with the the nav is also going to be desirable as opposed to non-nav cars. It just looks a lot better. But yeah, and this is the comfort lighting package that I mentioned earlier, just so you know, it's not standard, but it's going to be on most cars. Dimmable interior comfort lighting, courtesy lights on exterior mirrors, automatic headlight activation, automatically dimming interior and exterior mirrors, programmable delay courtesy lighting with dipped headlights. So not a standard feature, however, most are going to have it simply because most cars are optioned with that kind of stuff here, especially in America. But yeah, let's move on to a 958 example that we can kind of see the different options in terms of colors. But most of them kind of carried over. Again, there were some differences I'll mention in a second. So you can see the Peridot metallic is going to be this green. That's what it was. I didn't know that. Carmine red and Peridot metallic are going to be those 2 special options. Then you have other metallic colors. You got silver, black, and blue. Then you got some more metallic colors: gray, umber, jet green, auburn, red. Then you have solid black and white. Then you're going to have your interior combos here. These are going to be your leather interior dashboard trim seat materials: black, Luxor beige, umber, platinum gray. You have 2-tone combos: black, titanium blue. You have umber / cream, umber / light tartufo. Interesting. And then you have espresso cognac. Interior package, you got the interior package for GTS and Carmine red. Then you have Peridot, which is going to be this green color. And then for the trim options, you have a bunch more. For the first one, it was just simply was the wood, or they mentioned it here actually. These are going to be your packages. Sport aluminum package is your only option for the GTS, is what I meant to say. I was trying to see whether or not wood was included, but yeah, sport aluminum package is what's included. You can't even get wood with the GTS. However, for the 958, you can, as you see here, you can get brushed aluminum, carbon fiber, monochrome black, walnut, anthracite birch, natural olive, and yachting mahogany. So as I mentioned plenty of times, but I'll reiterate again, the 958 had just a lot more features you could get, much more options, much more ways you could get it personalized, simply because they realized that this car was not being bought by, off-roaders who were, going off road every weekend, but more like moms who are dropping off their kids at school and picking up stuff at the mall. So they kind of tailored their car to more be appropriate for their market share, which is smart. Let's see the packages, because there are a ton more packages for this as well. I mentioned them earlier. In fact, let's just put it up on the screen here so I can read through them. So we have the monochrome interior package. That's actually the carbon fiber package. Unfortunately, it doesn't really describe the packages too well, but in terms of, I can just do my best to give you kind of, you know, a rundown. Carbon fiber interior package is going to be that carbon fiber trim. You're going to have it on the doors. You're going to have it on the dash. The monochrome black interior package. Ah, man, why is this all like out of order? This is pissing me off, actually. Yeah, unfortunately, they don't really give a good description of these packages, and it's not like, I'm not going to try to figure this out on the spot. The thing is with Porsche, they do a lot of their research and stuff. Porsche, in terms of things with, the thing is with Porsche ads and Porsche people is that a lot of the things you can find, like all the options, the stuff that people really nerd out on is stuff found in the VIN. It's hard to find exactly like in the ad looking at pictures. So just, you know, a tip, if you're looking for a specific car, it's best to get the VIN and look at the packages that way. Obviously, for the sake of this video, we're going to be looking at options visually. But some of these packages, as you can see, they're not really described, so they're hard to find visually. You're going to have to really know exactly what to look for. And with the 958, more so than the 957, it's really hard to tell what packages each car has. There's a couple ways you can tell too. There's like some places you can look for blank buttons. However, with Porsche, if you're familiar with Porsche, even with the top of the line Turbo S are still blank buttons. So it really depends on what market your car is in, because some options they give a button for, but they're not available in parts of the world. Yeah. Anyway, so now that we know what we're looking for generally for the GTS, let's get on to the problems. No, that was a lot. Porsche people are going to love that one. They're going to find all the different things that I missed. It's all good though. Just leave your comments down below. We can add to discussion. And if I haven't mentioned this before, I'm going to be redoing all these videos eventually, because I know for a fact that I didn't get everything and I want to, for the sake of having good information on the internet. So of course, videos that I could revise the most will be revised eventually. We're just going to get through them for now. And then finally, the problems. A bunch of different things you got to look out for this car. It is, after all, a high performance machine. So you want to check, obviously, first and foremost, you want to check to see there's no water intrusion in the car. This is checking the clogged drains, or checking the drains to make sure they're not clogged. The drains at the bottom of the doors, there's sunroof drains as well. You want to make sure that there's no water intrusion. Feel the floor mats, make sure they're not damp or anything. And yeah, you really don't want your car to be leaking or have any places where water could seep in. In terms of mechanical, you have the water pump that could go bad. This is both for 957 and 958. You have same thing with the fuel pump system, except for 958s or 957s, excuse me. You have the high pressure fuel pump and the low pressure fuel pump that can go bad. Either or, they're going to cause issues with your car. It's not going to run right. And for 957 specifically, for 958 specifically, is just the high pressure fuel pump. That being said, the 957 also has secondary air pump issues. So recirculating air issues, you know, this can be issues with like blow by and stuff like that. But anyway, drive shaft carrier bearing failure. This is also an issue with 957s. You'll just have an excess amount of noise from the drive shaft. Dang, my nose is becoming itchy again. That means I've been talking too much. Transfer case actuator motor sticks. It's gonna be a 957, as I mentioned before. So the transfer case, if you don't switch between high and low gears that often, it could stick in one or the other. You want to make sure that you're cycling between the different modes and you're testing out the car to make sure that it works. Rear hatch sock. So an interesting thing, especially of the 957s, is that the rear hatch shocks are located in this weird area. They're not in the traditional place. Let me just try to show you a picture, because it's really interesting and really hard to describe. 957 rear hatch shocks. So it's hard to see. Maybe you can see it up here, but there are no shocks. They're internally located. And so you have to actually take out some of the roof lining and stuff like that to service the rear hatch shocks. It's hard to really describe, but in kind of this example, you can see they're not in the traditional place. They're actually located internally in the roof. And so it's a little bit of a pain to service, and they do go out. So expect to do that on your car. What else? Sunroof leaks and rattles. I mentioned the leaks earlier, but the sunroof also has a tendency to rattle as well. So make sure that your sunroof is in good condition. You don't want extra noise. You don't want wind noise coming from it as either. Or you don't want water coming through. Just make sure your sunroof is good. The seat backs, especially on the early 957s and the 955s, they tend to fall off. This is just due to the adhesive not being the best. So make sure the seat backs are in good condition. They're not starting to peel off. General interior wear, you want to make sure that the mileage matches the wear. Obviously, look at the seats. The leather shouldn't be torn or anything, but it should show some type of wear, but not too much. Then ignition coil and spark plug failure. Common on these cars. They usually last like 50 or 60,000 miles. That's kind of like the stretch of it. If it's been longer than that, you're probably gonna have to change out these things. So just make sure that it runs good, runs smooth, makes decent gas mileage. I know people are getting around 16, 17 average. So as long as it's around there, then you're probably good. Thermostat failure, you just want to make sure that your car doesn't overheat, or it's not, or make sure that it can actually heat up. It's not just letting coolant pass through when it's not hot yet. Make sure your thermostat works. Plastic coolant line. So this is going to be specifically for the 958, for the GTS. Make sure that these plastic coolant lines have been addressed. They get hot and they become brittle and fail. And this is only for the 958 GTSs. And then for specifically the 957, and specifically for the first couple model years of the 958, 2010 to 2012, it has a cam adjuster bolt failure. So this basically adjusts the rate the cam is at. And if it fails, your engine will never be in perfect timing, and it won't run as well, and you'll be able to tell because you'll have plenty of error messages. So a ton of different issues to look out for on this car. This is a perfect example of a car that you really should get a PPI for. It's not too cheap to get a PPI for. These cars, they're not too expensive. However, you want to make sure what you're getting into is worth it, because it's still a Porsche. The price for parts and the price for repair is going to be significantly higher than a regular car. So of course, make sure you get a PPI beforehand. They will look over, it's an SUV, so they're going to look at all the suspension stuff, the drivetrain, make sure nothing is leaking, stuff you can't really notice if you're just looking at the car outside. They'll lift it up and everything. You know what a PPI is. You get the idea. So now that we have all that information ready and in our heads, let's look at some ads and see whether or not we can find any good deals. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video. Let's get to 20 likes. We're almost at 20 likes last time. Let's see if we can get to 20 likes this time. And shout out to everyone who's new here. If you are new here and haven't said anything in the chat, say what's up. Yeah, shout out to everyone who's in the chat right now. Cool. All right. Yeah, let's go on to the ads, shall we? The best part of the show, the part everyone waits for. So moving on to our first example, we have a 2008. This is going to be our first model year of the GTS with the V8. First model year of the GTS in general, 115,000 miles. See what he has to say. Selling a super clean 2008 Porsche Cayenne GTS in rare marine blue. It is a rare color. You don't see any blues. Over black Alcantara inserts and roof. That's going to be your standard interior. 115K, clean title on hand. No reported accidents. 4.8 liter, 405 horsepower. All new cooling lines, water distributor, PCV, Pirelli. Okay, so it has a secondary air. It has the water pump, cooling lines, all taken care of. They're asking $23,800. Super high price. So high that my voice cracked a little bit there. Let's look at the spec. It is very nice though. These are going to be your standard GTS wheels. Not my favorite wheels, but they are the standard wheels. You can tell this car has been taken care of. The paint looks in really good condition, especially being a first model year GTS. Interior looks also pretty good, especially if you're having 115,000 miles. It's not really that worn at all. You can see on the interior though, we're working with the regular steering wheel. We do have PCM though, which is cool, which is the nav system for Porsche. And looking on the center console, we can see it does have air suspension and it does have PASM. However, it does not have PDCC. Not a big deal though. PDCC, as I mentioned, was a pretty rare option, pretty sought after option. But if your car does not have PDCC, it's not the end of the world. You can see this one does not, but it does have air, as you can see. A quick way to tell it does not have PDCC is that this middle section is black instead of silver. Overall clean car though. We got some good options here. This is a sound clip. Okay. Sounds pretty good as well. You know, this is a really nice example of the car. We can see there's a baby there too. All right, very nice. With appropriate levels of wear, it's not too bad on here. Hey, shout out to the 3 people in the chat. What's going on? Say what's up if you haven't already. Shout out to you, Clean Whips. Oh, man, shout out to Clean Whips, man. Clean Whips, always showing support every day, man. Shout out to Clean Whips. Going back to this. Looking at these pictures, the car is nice, right? It's a really nice spec, blue on black, super rare, but the mileage is pretty high for the price. 115,000 miles and they're asking 24 grand. That's way too high for me. I'm sorry, man. Like, I don't want to be insulting on your car, but it does have high miles and it is a first model year. This car is worth around maybe $15,000. Yeah, for something like this, being a 2008 first model year, having $115,000, for something like this being a 2008 first model year and having 115,000 miles, I'd be willing to go up to $15,000. Cool. Moving on to our next example, we have a 2009, so second to the last model year. Moving on to our next example, we have a 2009, which is not the first model year, but the second to the last model year. In black, you can see it has the GTS logo on the side, which is pretty cool. Standard GTS wheels. See what the interior looks like. Interior is in the all brown. I love this brown interior because it is all brown. I like how it has the brown headliner and the top of the dash is brown as well. But as you can see, it looks pretty good. Not too bad. 137,000 miles. They're asking 14 grand. This is way better than the last ad. 140,000 miles, 14 grand. Let's see what he has to say. Read first. Power seats, power windows, no service light. Engine and transmission, no issues. Clean it inside and out. No mechanical issues. Clean floor to title. Vehicle runs well, smooth ride, lots of storage. I guess that's a good thing. I mean, I'll give you a ding, but I don't know why you really wanted me to read that first when you just said, you could have just said everything's good. Because that's as much as it helped me out. I really like the spec though. Brown on tan. No dash in brown. It mirrors the windshield. It does. That's a good point. It does kind of reflect and the light and it makes it hard to see. I just like the way it looks. It might not be the most practical, but I think it looks really cool in pictures. That's more of a personal decision, I guess. So looking here, we can see that it does have the PCM and it does have PASM. It does not have PCCM though. It doesn't have the Porsche. What does PCCM mean? I know it's the disconnecting sway bars, but I forget what exactly it means. Porsche or PDCC. Sorry, PCCM is something else. PCC, I was getting Porsche ceramic composite brakes confused with something. Okay, so it doesn't have PDCC. Excuse me, I'm making up words. Okay, anyway, so it doesn't have PDCC, but it has everything else. Air suspension, has PASM, obviously, and it is in a cool color. They want 13.9 for this. It has 140,000 miles. Because it has 137,000 miles, I think, you know, they're close. 13.9 is pretty close. I'd be willing to go up to 12.5 for this example right here. Yep. Moving on to our next example, we have a 2013. So this is going to be a 958. It's going to be one of the last model years, which is surprising. 159,000 miles, so 160,000 miles, and they're asking 14.9. It's in this red color, which is very nice. Not sure this is a dent right here, but we're gonna keep looking. It is a dent, actually. You can see, so the body isn't in the best condition already. We can see some scratches and scuffs. You can see some holes from a license plate, which aren't even centered, which is crazy. You can see the center lines right here, and the plate is off to the right, which is horrible. Black wheels. See what the interior looks like. We have the 18-way seats. These are going to be what the 18-way seats look like in the 2013. So the 958 has two choices of seats. You have the 18-way seats and the 14-way seats. What's interesting is that lots of people say the 14-way seats are a lot more comfortable than the 18-way seats. The 18-way seats are going to be the more sporty seats. As you can see, they have the Alcantara in the middle, and they're going to obviously have more ways, 18-way seats. But based on what people say, people really prefer the 14-way seats if you're looking for a more comfortable, less sporty seat. These ones look sporty, but obviously they're a little bit less comfortable. Nothing really to say in the description, so let's keep on looking. Looking at the center, we can see that it is missing one button here. This one, the bottom right, seems to be missing on all the cars, so I'm not really too worried about that. However, for this top one, I have it actually. So this one is actually, this is what the button should be up here. It should be lane keep assist. So this car does not have lane keep assist. So it doesn't have some options. However, it does obviously, as you can see here, have air suspension as well as PASM. You can't tell if it has PDCC or Porsche torque vectoring without looking at the VIN. So that's something that you'd have to look up on your own. But looking at this car, it is red on black with the red seatbelt option as well. So pretty good spec. 160,000 miles is a ton of miles. However, it doesn't look too bad for the amount of miles it has. The interior doesn't look worn at all. The exterior has a few a few dents and dings, but nothing too bad, especially for this price. I'd say for having 160,000 miles and being a 958 as opposed to being a 957, I'd be willing to go up to $14,000 for this car. Cool. Moving on to our next example, we have a 2013. This is going to be another 958 model in black. As you can see, it's going to have these wheels. We never went over the 958 wheels. Let's do that real quick. So the 958 has these two options for wheels. Obviously, these ones are going to be the more desirable ones. These ones are going to be kind of the cheaper ones. So I suggest you look for these 21-inch ones as opposed to the Sport Design 2 20-inch wheels. So these are going to be those 21 inches. Those are going to be the ones we want. So here we have a 2013 Cayenne GTS, 145,000 miles. Are asking 20 grand. It's black on the 21-inch sport wheels. Let's see what the interior looks like. We can see it has the tri-spoke steering wheel. As we noticed in this one, it has this one also. This is going to be that sport steering wheel. This is going to be the multi-function steering wheel. The difference is the sport steering wheel has the paddle shifters and no buttons. 21, I mean, 21 is good for on-road. Really, it all depends on the sidewall. So as long as you have a thick sidewall, it really doesn't matter the size. Here we have, so going back to this, we have the multi-function steering wheel as opposed to the sport design. So here, going back to this, we have the multi-function steering wheel as opposed to the sport steering wheel. We can also see it has carbon fiber on the wheel as well. This car does have the carbon fiber interior package. We can see carbon fiber on the dash too. So multi-function wheel, not the sport wheel, but with the carbon fiber package. Looking at the seats, we can see that these are going to be those 14-way seats, the more comfortable seats. So if you want something more comfortable, you know, it's perfectly fine with getting the 14-way seats as opposed to the sport 18-way seats. The 14-way seats are fine. We can see here, again, the carbon fiber package. Moving down, it does have air suspension. It does have PASM, but it does not have the lane keep assist. So it doesn't have some of those safety features, although those aren't completely necessary, especially on a sport SUV like this Cayenne GTS. So let's read what it says in the description. Cayenne GTS 4.8 liter, carbon fiber trim, keyless tow package, sunroof, and turbo wheels, build sheet and photos, rear entertainment, heated and cool seats, Continental tires. Also, this car has a rear entertainment package as well. They didn't really show it, which is interesting. But let's read the build sheet right here, which we can't even see. See if I can zoom in on this at all. So I'm trying to see whether it has any. I don't see anything about PCCM or PTV. Yeah, I don't really see anything special. It has the Bose. It has the Turbo 2 wheels, even though they're, yeah, I guess there are Turbo 2 wheels. Yeah. For this one, 145,000 miles, and they're asking 19.9. I mean, it is a 958, so it does go for a little bit higher price. However, having 145,000 miles when compared to our last example, which had 159,000 miles, and I was willing to go up to 12 for that. I'd say for this one, having 145,000, I'd be willing to go up to 13.5 for this car. Yep, this one's a little bit in better condition than the last example, so I'll be willing to go up a little bit higher. Cool, and moving on to our final example. This is going to be a 2014 last model year GTS. So the final model year, you can get a 958 with a 4.8 liter engine. This one also has the higher amount of power. It has 420 horsepower, I believe, when compared to the 400. So this one also has a higher horsepower figure because it is a 958 as opposed to 957, making 414 horsepower. Let's take a look at what the interior spec looks like. We can see it's on the Sport 18-way seats. We can also see it has the multi-function wheel. So it has the Sport 18-way seats, but the multi-function wheel, not the Sport wheel. You can see the Alcantara in the middle. Looking at the center, we also see that it has air suspension, it has PASM, it does not have lane keep assist, so it does not have some of the safety features. However, you know, it is a last model year GTS, so you're not really too focused on those types of features. Has the silver aluminum interior trim. So black on black with the silver, so gray on black with the silver aluminum interior trim. Other than that, you don't really see anything. We see the exhaust, the active exhaust option as well. See what he has to say. 149k miles, runs and drives amazing. Few options, has adjustable air ride, exhaust switch, backup camera, Bluetooth, nav, heated seat, sunroof. Sounds amazing. All right, so not really anything there. 2014, last model year, 149,000 miles. They're asking 17.9. You know, they're pretty close. It's the last model year and it has 149,000 miles. So, you know, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. I'd say for this one, being the spec that it is, it doesn't have the sport wheel. However, it does have the sport seats, which obviously they go for a little bit more because they're a little bit more desirable, but they're not as comfortable. So I don't know if people are going to desire them as much like in real life, but they do have a higher ticket in terms of spec. I don't know what wheels these are either. It has some different wheels on it as well, but they do look nice. I'd say for this one, being the spec that it is, and being a last model year, I'd be willing to go up to 15.5 for this car. What does Jacob says? He says, so to what American SUV would you compare this Porsche? Because I know the Q7 and Touareg, but I'm not so familiar with US SUVs. That's a good question because US SUVs don't really compare to this car. If you've ever been in a Porsche Cayenne, they're pretty tiny. They're not really that many, you know, tiny American SUVs that are sporty and luxurious at the same time. If you have a tiny SUV, it's kind of going to be more on the cheaper end. In America, the more luxurious SUVs are going to be really big. I guess you could compare it to maybe like an SRT Jeep, because that would be similar in off-road capability and performance. Not similar in terms of the interior quality. The SRT Jeep is not going to be as nice at all, especially if we're talking about the same model years, like early 2010s. They're not going to be that nice. But in terms of American SUVs, that's the only thing I can really compare it to, because it follows the same ethos. You know, it's an off-road car with a lot of sporty potential, and that's the SRT Jeep. I'm not talking about like a Trackhawk or anything. I'm talking about a naturally aspirated SRT Jeep 392. I guess for the earlier ones, they didn't have 392s, but a 392 Jeep would be the most comparable to something like this. And it's funny is that they're way more expensive. So this is kind of a deal. Like overall, this is actually a really good deal when looking at cars on the market in general. Like for what you're getting, a 2014 car, right? In general, you're getting a 2014 Porsche all-wheel drive V8 for the mid-teens. That's pretty nice. You're paying that much for a 2014 340i or whatever. So it's actually a very good deal on paper. And you know what's even better deal is the Turbo and the Turbo S, but those obviously are going to be a little bit less reliable and have a little bit more going on in terms of mechanicalness. So you're going to be paying a little bit more on parts, and you might not get as good gas mileage, but it's probably going to be about the same. But yeah, this is actually a really good deal on paper in terms of getting a sporty SUV, especially when you compare it to, as I mentioned, an SRT Jeep. They're going to be about the same price or even more. And then moving on to Auto Trader. Let's look at our first ad on Auto Trader. We have a red GTS. One of my favorite colors that the GTS came in is in this red. We can see the wheels are aftermarket. Not sure what the wheels are, but the interior spec and exterior spec are pretty top notch in my opinion. We have red on a tan interior, which is so cool. Very Ferrari. Let's look at what we can see on the interior. We can see it has a regular wheel, the triangle wheel, not my favorite wheel at all, but it is the tan interior. We can see down here, has air suspension, it has PASM, but does not have PDCC. Not a big deal. It is a 2008 first model year after all. Alcantara headliner, looks very nice. How many miles? 120,000 miles. Let's see what he has to say. Not really selling anything at all. Has some scratches. Okay. So overall, a very nice spec of the car, very unique, very rare spec that will also sell pretty well because it looks really good. It's not like a unique, ugly spec. I'd say for this, having 120,000 miles and being a first model year, you know, 10.5 is not bad at all. If it runs good, let's see what's missing. The rear windshield wiper is missing and the check engine light is on. Okay, so it's having some mechanical issues. I'd say because of that, the price, you know, it wasn't bad at first, but now, you know, it's a little high. I'd say for something like that, I'd be willing to go up to $7,500 for this car. Yeah. Yeah, Clean Whip said his cousin found a 2009 Turbo in 2018 for 15 grand with 100,000 miles. Yep. The Turbo S model, Turbo and Turbo S's, especially for the 955 and 957, super cheap right now, and the value I'd say is pretty high. Like, what else can you get that's listen, I'm gonna just put it this way. The Turbo Cayenne came out in what, 2005, 2006 around. That's when it was running around on the streets. You could have 530 horsepower in a 2005, 2006 SUV. What cars, sports cars, even came close? That's like as much power as a Gallardo at the time. Like, that's insane from an SUV, and you can get that car for 15 grand for a nice one. Like 15 grand for a turbo, like an old turbo, you'll find a really nice one. But the problem is maintenance, but you know, it all depends on how well the car was taken care of. You'll see a lot of them with over 100,000 miles that are perfectly fine. Anyway, let's move on to the next ad. We have a 2010 GTS. So this is going to be the last model year of the 957. We can see it also has the GTS name on the side. Some cars had this, some cars didn't. I like it when they said GTS on the side. Yeah, maintenance is expensive but fairly reliable. I agree. That's exactly true. It's fairly reliable. It's just that when things go wrong, it's kind of expensive because the parts not only are expensive, but trying to find a Porsche certified person to work on it that you trust is also going to be a premium. But yeah, going back to this, it's in white, which is a really nice color on the GTS. I really like the whites. I really like the reds, and it has GTS on, the side, which is pretty cool. It's on the standard GTS wheels. Let's see what we're working with on the inside. We can see it has the all tan interior, one of my favorite interiors for this example. 4.8 V8. This is going to be, you know, a 957 version of the 4.8, so it's the lesser, so it has a lesser amount of power. It makes around 300. Oh man, I can't even remember that off the top of my head. Excuse me, give me 1 second. 405. So this is going to be a 957, obviously, because it's 2010. So it's going to have the lesser output version of this 4.8 V8, making 405 horsepower. You can see the overall condition of the car, though, is very clean. We have the Bose speaker system as well. Seats look very nice. You can tell they're even vacuumed nicely with the design. I love it when people do that. It just shows that they care about the car. Looking on the interior, we can see it has air suspension and PASM, but does not have PDCC. Not anything unexpected. I haven't seen a single PDCC car to date, so not too bad. This is a 2010, so you're going to be getting the best example of the 957 last model year, obviously. So this is also super desirable. 150,000 miles, and they're asking 15 grand in price. You know, it's not too far off. It does have a lot of miles. 150, obviously anything really 100,000, anything really above 100,000 is going to be a lot. So when you get to mileage this high, you're going to have to make sure you really do your research on the car and make sure that you understand what has and hasn't been done, because obviously not everything is going to be done on a car with this many miles. And for 15 grand, you want to make sure that you get to PPI. I'd say for me, I would want to maybe start around 12.5 and work my way up from there. I'd say 12.5 would be a great price for something like this. And then moving on to our next example, we have a 2014. So this is going to be the last model year of the 958. We have it in black, and we're looking on the interior. We can already see that it's in tan. Hey, what did people say in the chat? He said, clean whips, or Jacob said 700. Seriously? Yeah. Yep. All you got to do is put on a tune and some downpipes. Exactly. You know, I mean, if you're not aware, Jacob, with tune and downpipes on any turbo car, you can easily put up 100 more horsepower easily. 200 more horsepower is like, you know, you could get there, but tune and downpipes 100 easy without really doing anything. Downpipes will add like 70 without even a tune. A tune, all you really got to do with a tune is increase the boost pressure. You don't really want to increase that much boost pressure without adding fuel as well. But just increasing the boost will make your car make a lot more power. I remember I was on my 335, just the last thing I could really think of. I was making 7 to 8 pounds stock, increasing it to 14 pounds. You add like 100 wheel right there. It's crazy. So yeah, these cars can make crazy amount of power in the turbo, guys. But yeah, you just want to make sure that if you're getting a turbo one, I mean, this has not have anything to do with what we're talking about today, but if you're getting a turbo one, make sure it hasn't been tuned. You don't want to be dealing with a car that's been like thrashed. You want to find one that you can do all the work to yourself. Just kind of like a girl, you know? Anyway, so they included a nice build sheet, which is cool. So this would be something you really want to get with the car when you're looking at it. Something that tells you exactly every single option that it has. These are the big ones that we can see. It has the nav system, it has panoramic roof, it has the Bose, had a front and rear heated seats, multifunction steering wheel in carbon, so it doesn't have the sport wheel, the multifunction one. It has Porsche entry and drive, comfort lighting package. Oh man, I made that too big. It has a servotronic steering as well. Instrument panel compass. So the compass is in the instrument panel. Lane change assist. So you actually have the lane change assist button in the center. We'll take a look at that in a second. And then it has the 14-way seats, not the 18-way seats. And it's in a Luxor beige leather. Cool. So you have all the really good options pretty much. See, it has the 14-way seats, as you can see, in Luxor beige with the multifunction wheel and carbon, as he said. It has the carbon wheel, however, it has the aluminum trim on the interior. Looking at the center console, we can see it's interesting. The car says it has lane keep assist, however, it does not have the lane keep assist button, which is weird. I don't know if they relocated it, because sometimes Porsche does that. They'll relocate the buttons for no reason. But yeah, the lane keep assist button is usually the top right button of the center stack right here, and I don't see any lane keep assist. So I'm not sure what the discrepancy is between the build sheet and the car here. But anyway, we can still price the car. 134,000 miles. As you'll notice with a bunch of these cars, first of all, there aren't many GTS Cayennes for sale. In terms of 957s and 958s, I was able to maybe find 40 or 50 in the whole country. So they're really rare cars. If you want to get one, you probably should get one soon before, you know, they become even more expensive than turbos. The turbos, you can find them everywhere. The GTS, a lot more rare, especially with these last model year V8s. I'd say because this one has 135,000 miles and it is the last model year. Granted, it is a pretty good spec in terms of options. However, 21.5, even though it has a good price, is not a good price for me. I'd be willing to go up to $17,000 for this car. And then here we have a 2013. You can see it is in white. It has these wheels as well. I believe these wheels were an option on the car. I keep seeing them on the GTS and they didn't show them in the brochure, but I'm pretty sure that they did come with the car. As you can see, they didn't mention them here. Do they mention them here? I don't see any wheel options here at all. So, oh, here they are. So these are going to be the Cayenne Sport Edition wheels. It's good to know. Okay, so it's the GTS on Sport Edition wheels. See the interior, we have a carbon fiber multifunction wheel along with the carbon fiber trim on the interior. Very nice. So it's white on black with the carbon fiber trim. We can see here it does not have these two buttons, so it does not have lane keep assist. See it has, we can see this is a 958, so it's the higher output version of the V8, making 414 horsepower. But yeah, other than that, we can see it is also on the 14-way seats, not the 18-way sport seats, but the 14-way seats. So overall, not a bad spec. White on black with some good options. It has the interior carbon. It only has 87,000 miles. They want $29,800 for this car. One of the most expensive cars we looked at. However, it also is one of the lowest miles. It's kind of rare to find one of these with low miles. People love to drive these cars, but 87,000 miles is still kind of a lot for 30 grand. When all the rest of the cars we're talking about in the teens, I'd say for having 87,000 miles, I'd be willing to go up to $21,000 for this car. And moving on to our last example, we have a 2014 Porsche Cayenne GTS in a sporty guise. We can see it's on some upgraded wheels. It has a roof bar with some lights on it as well, some hella lights. It is also a 2014 with 48,000 miles, so low mile example in a brown color. I really like this brown. Let's see what the interior looks like in terms of spec. Let's see this what it looks like before it was customized. See, it has the high output version of the V8, making 414 horsepower because it is a 958. Look at the interior. We have the brown interior. You can see it has a sport wheel. No buttons on the sport wheel. That's how you tell the difference. That's how you tell the difference between a sport and a multifunction wheel. This one does not have any buttons and it has paddle shifters. It is on the 14-way seats, as you can see. So not the sport 18-way seats. Yeah, I mean, I can go off on a tangent real quick. So basically, a lot of people, you'll find a lot of GTSs equipped in more of an off-road guise because that was imitating the Trans-Siberia edition of the GTS or of the Cayenne, which was an off-road, kind of like a GT version of the Cayenne. So GT3 version of the 911. It's the Trans-Siberia of the Cayenne. So basically you had special paint, you had special wheels. It was like off-road GT version. It was called the Trans-Siberia, and a lot of people want to model the GTS after the Trans-Siberia simply because the Trans-Siberia used the GTS engine. It was the only other car to use a GTS engine that wasn't a GTS, obviously. But yeah, people often make their GTSs off-roady simply because of the pedigree that the Trans-Siberia left. You know, it's they didn't produce too many Trans-Siberias, only 600 were produced, and so a lot of people want to make their GTS look like one. Granted, they're not going to put on all the Trans-Siberia stuff, but they are going to make it look more off-road. And obviously, not everyone is going for a Trans-Siberia clone. People just want to make theirs off-road. I'm just saying that's a big reason as to why people make the GTS off-road, simply because it does have heritage. Well, the powertrain does have heritage in off-road versions of the car, or special off-road versions, because they weren't, most of them obviously probably went off-road at some point, but they were still released to the public. They were still special editions, you know. Anyway, $39,900 they're asking. Super high price for one of these, but then again, it does have a lot of aftermarket stuff, stuff that may or may not be for you. You know, you can see it does not have these buttons filled in either, but it does have air suspension, does have PASM. It also has the panoramic roof, which is a good option as well. You can see here he upgraded the screen to have Apple CarPlay. Pretty cool if that's what you're into. If you're into a stock car, obviously you'd want that stock nav screen or stock center deck to come with the car as well. Has Bose, but other than that, very clean car. Obviously it only has 50,000 miles, so it better be clean. I'd say for having 50,000 miles and being a last model year and being a pretty good spec in terms of options, I'd be willing to go up to $27,000. Yep, cool. So the okay, I was trying to read it, but I get your question now. So the 958s have ZFs and the 957s have the ASIN. So the 957s have the 6-speed ASIN Tiptronic, and then the 958s have the 8-speed ZF Tiptronic automatic. Porsche words for automatic. So yeah, so if you have a 958 2010 to 2014, it's going to have a ZF. If you have a 2008 to 2010, it's going to have the ASIN. I guess we can read some of the, I already gave the price. We can just read it real quick for you guys who are watching, but I already gave the price. You can see Umber 21-inch RS Spider wheels. So these are going to be your upgraded stuff. It has PASM, it has GTS exhaust, air suspension, full sunroof, two-tone Luxor beige espresso, 14-way seats, much more comfortable than 18-way seat. This is what I'm talking about. OEM velour and rubber floor mats. Porsche car doubled in. So I guess it's for Porsche specifically. So it's like a brand just for Porsche. And then, yeah, I already said the price, 27 grand. I don't think I'd ever get that, but you know, that's where I'd be at. I wouldn't get this low mile GTS, especially with this many modifications. I get a stock one. And then moving on finally to the final place, we look at ads. Car Gurus. I like Car Gurus the best. You can filter out the best. Actually, you know, I wish someone needs to help me get a Auto Tempest sponsorship, because that would be perfect for this show. If I could say sponsored by Auto Tempest and only use Auto Tempest to find the cars, it would be great. Not only for the show, because I still can find the cars I want, but I can also get a sponsorship. So if anyone watching knows anyone that Auto Tempest, tell them to hit me up, or tell me how I can hit them up, because that would be a great sponsorship. Anyway, moving on to our first example, we have a 2009. This is going to be a 957 Cayenne GTS. See, it is in black with the stock Cayenne GTS wheels. Let's take a look at the interior, see what we're working with. You can see we have a black interior. It's going to have that standard aluminum trim because it is a 957. You can see a little bit of wear, especially on the gear selector right here. Looking here, we also see that we have air suspension and PASM, but no PCCM. Porsche chassis control. Yep, no PCCM right here. We can see it has air suspension and PASM, but no PCCM. You can see it also has the regular steering wheel, has the regular sport seats too. Standard on the 957. Nothing too fancy going on here. No options in the rear. We do see that 4.8 liter low output version, 405 horsepower because it is a 957. But other than that, looks pretty clean. How many miles does this car have? 105,000 miles. They want 17.3. You know, they're pretty close. This doesn't have that many miles when compared to other examples we look at. 105 is right over 100. I'd say for this having 105,000, I'd be willing to go up to 16.5 for this car. Clean Whip said, I think the first gens look better. The second gen is too round and soft looking. Just an opinion. You know, Clean Whips, I agree with you. I think the first gen, and we're almost there to where I make my recommendation on what car I would look for specifically, but you're on the right track. We're on the same mindset there, because I do agree. The first gen looks really cool. The second gen looks a little bit more generic, a little bit more crossover soccer mommy. So this one, 16 grand, 16.5 is where I'd be at. Moving on to our next example. This is going to be a 2010 last model year for the 957. We can see these pictures are a little bit blurry, but we'll get through them. We can see it's black on the stock wheels. I didn't mention this earlier, but here we can see the special GTS wing. It is a biplane wing. You can see it has 2 levels. You can see the top level here, second level here. Pretty cool. Just a quick little fun fact. We can see the interior. Again, it's going to be in black. Standard seats for the GTS for the 957 with the Alcantara in the middle. You can see it has the sunroof option as well. Alcantara roof. We can see it has the Alcantara roof and sunroof options as well. Aluminum trim. Has the standard triangle steering wheel, the ugly steering wheel. Yeah, exactly, Jacob Black. Exactly. Exactly. That's why I love the soccer moms. It's like I'm joking. Anyway, looking on this one, we can see it also has air suspension and PASM, but no PCCM. I haven't seen a single one PCCM yet. It's going to have a silver middle. You'll notice it immediately. You can see the VIN plate right there. Just some other pictures of the car. Not a bad example, especially being a 2010 last model year of the 957. 146,000 miles. The mileage is a little bit high. Have we looked at this already? Because this seems pretty familiar. No, maybe I was just looking at it earlier. Anyway, 147,000 miles. They're asking 14 grand. They're not too far off at all. This is a 2010, the most desirable 957. Although it does have high miles, it's not over 150. And because it's not over 150, I'd be willing to go up to $12,000 for this example. Anything they have to say about it before we move on? Nope, I don't want to read any of this. Moving on to our next ad. We have a white example. This is going to be a 2013 958. Let's see what the interior looks like. We can see it's on some tiny wheels, but they do look aftermarket. But I like the stance on them. I do like the way they look. I like the thickness of the tire. I think it suits a car like this very well. Some people like a thin tire. I'm more of a fat tire guy. No matter what the car, I could, you know, a great example of this is look at an OG Miura with the balloon tires. I think it looks way better than a Miura with thin tires. Miura balloon. Oh, I can't spell. So why can't they, like, this is a nice, it says high resolution. This picture, oh my god. Okay. Anyway, this is what I was trying to show you. So you can see the balloon tires. I love this look compared to does it show like any other way? Because I know the car came with 2 different types of tires depending on you know, what year. And some looked way more balloon than others. But when I'm looking at all these photos, they look all pretty balloony to me. So this would be something I wouldn't like. Don't do that. Obviously, this is just a render. But this is what I'm talking about. Thin tires versus balloon tires. I'm more of a balloon tire guy. I think they look cool. That's just me though. And that was my quick tangent. The Miura is just overall a really good looking car anyway. So, you know, thick sidewalls are what I like. I remember even on my LS 430 before, I always had thick sidewall tires, even though they were big wheels. Big wheels and the thick sidewalls are a great combo. These look nice to me. Anyway, moving on. Let's scroll through. Looking at the interior spec, we can see it has the sport steering wheel with the 14-way seats. This is going to be the 2-tone interior with the Luxor beige and the black. I like this interior a lot. You have the 14-way seats with the sports steering wheel, which is a rare combo. Usually it's the opposite way. Usually it's the opposite way around. We have the 18-way sports seats with the multifunction steering wheel. I like the way this is spec'd right here. You can see again that two-tone interior, the Luxor beige as well as the mocha, I believe. Let's actually look at what trim package that is. So it's going to be the espresso and cognac. Excuse me. So this is going to be that espresso and cognac interior. Yeah, see, this is what you like. This is your spec right here, Jacob. You got the black dash, so you don't have to worry about those reflections. But yeah, what we have here is the espresso and cognac interior. So obviously the cognac is going to be, or the espresso and cognac, or either one of those. I don't know which one is darker. Espresso might be the darker one. Cognac also might be dark. I don't know. They're both kind of browns to me, but you have a brown and brown interior. Yeah. Moving on, we can see the trim is going to be this wood trim. I believe this is the walnut trim. Yep. Gosh, I need to remember. So we have the walnut trim, which is pretty cool. Let's look at the center. We can see here, of course, it has air suspension and PASM, but we're missing these two buttons. What is new? Most cars are spec like that if we're being honest. And looking at the ceiling, we can see it has the Alcantara roof option as well as the sunroof option. We can see it does not have 4-zone climate control, as this is blank. So has some options. I'd say this is a pretty well equipped, not the best equipped, not fully loaded, but pretty well equipped. It has 130,000 miles. They're asking 21 grand. I say because it's a 2013, they're not too far off, especially because the mileage isn't too high. It is getting up there, but 129 is kind of still a little bit, not the highest we've looked at today. I'd say for having 130,000 miles and having this particular spec, I'd be at $17,000. Moving on to our next example, we have a 2014. This one is going to be gray on the Turbo 2 wheels. Let's take a look at what the interior spec looks like. Scrolling down, we can also see it has red brake calipers as well. So you can see it is a 958 GTS, so you also see the tinted taillights in the rear. See what the interior spec looks like. See an all black interior with the aluminum trim. Very nice. We can see it also has the multi-function steering wheel, not the sport steering wheel. You can see the buttons on it. You can also see these are going to be those 14-way seats, not the 18-way sport seats, but the standard 14-way seats. Most people have said that these seats are more comfortable than the sports 18-way seats anyway, so these are still, you know, they're not bad to get, you know. Just to compare to Hemi, when you said with 100K the engine is cooked, you know, a lot of Hemis, when you hit 100K, they have had a lot of ticking issues. This is usually from the valve train, or it could even be like the piston slapping around. Hemis usually have issues over 100,000 miles. It could be either the drivetrain or the pistons themselves. It gets way more complicated than that. Obviously, this is kind of like a 50,000 feet above description of the Hemi problems. But yeah, you really don't see a lot of high mileage Hemis running around. That's for a reason. We don't know the specific reason, but it is a lot to do with the valve train. So yeah, I wouldn't suggest getting a high mile SRT Jeep if that's what you're talking about. Yeah, oh man, I was scrolling anyway. So yeah, looking at this car, 14-way seats, has the panoramic roof as well, which is a really good option to have if you want it. Okay, well, let me say that again. Has the panoramic roof option as well. And see again, multifunction steering wheel, not the sport steering wheel. We can see here it has air suspension, has PASM, but these two buttons are blank again. And then looking at the engine, doesn't look that bad. This is going to be a 958 version of the 4.8, so it has 414 horsepower as opposed to 405 in the 957. But other than that, not too bad of a car. We can see it is the all black interior with the aluminum trim, so nothing too fancy in terms of interior spec. It does have the panoramic roof though, so it has something going for it. But other than that, what are we looking at in terms of mileage? 86,000 miles. They're asking 25 grand. You know, they're not too far off because this has low miles. I would actually go up a little bit higher in price, closer to something like this. It's not the most optioned out though. You don't even have the sports steering wheel. To me, I really like the sports steering wheel. That's something that I'd have to get in a car like this. Also, I'd have to get the carbon fiber interior. The simple standard aluminum trim, you know, is nice, but it's not enough for me. I'd say for something like this, having only 87,000 miles, I'd be around the $21,000 mark. And then finally, we have our last example. This is going to be a 2014 last model year GTS. It's going to be on the Turbo 2 wheels in white. You can see the red brake calipers as well. It has 93,000 miles. Let's see what the interior looks like. We can see the interior is going to be a more sporty interior. We do have the Sport 18-way seats. These seats are obviously going to be a premium over the regular seats. However, most people do say that these seats aren't as comfortable, so you should just get the 14-way seats. However, these are going to add more value to the car in terms of resale. We also have the GTS ingrained on the headrest. This might be the Peridot package because it has the Peridot colored seat belts, but I'm not too sure about that. Peridot is going to be this color. I believe I'm saying it right. Let's keep scrolling. We can see it has air suspension. It has PASM. Pretty much everything standard. It doesn't even have the sport wheel though. It has the multifunction wheel. Not really. As you can see, we have the multifunction steering wheel. Not really my favorite wheel, but you know, if everything else is there, you can probably get away with having this wheel. It's not too much different than the sport wheel. The sport wheel just has the paddle shifters, as well as looking a lot cooler. What did you say, Clean Whips? He said, do yourself a favor and open and close the doors on a Cayenne. You can feel the quality. Yep, you can definitely feel the quality, especially with the first generation. I don't know what to say about the 958s, the second generation. They were a little bit less in terms of quality. The 957s though and 955s, super robust vehicles. Very capable, even off-road. Like, they were up there with the G-Wagon. Like, I don't know if you ever off-roaded your Touareg, Jacob, but I've been off-roading in my friend's Touareg before, and it is super capable. Yeah. So that being said, you can see this car being a 958. You see it has a tinted taillights. See it has the 18-way sport interior. It doesn't even have the sport steering wheel though, but it does have the Peridot belts as well as the GTS moniker on the headrest. So it has some cool options. 93,000 miles, and they want 30 grand for it. This is way too much. Even Car Gurus knows how high this price is. I'd say for something like this, it doesn't even have the sport steering wheel. Granted, it's just a wheel, I know, but it's not even the most option. It doesn't have the carbon fiber interior pack either. I'd say for something like this, I'll be willing to go up to $22,000. As you can see, there's a ton of spread in terms of these Cayenne prices, which is why I feel more comfortable lowballing some of these other examples. So yeah, just when you're looking for these, try to find the ones that are going to be, you know, the options that you want first and price them that way. Don't try to just get the cheapest one, because you're probably going to find one that doesn't have a ton of options. As I mentioned before, these cars, the trim levels are engine based, so all the options can be had a la carte. So every single Cayenne is pretty much going to be different than the rest of them. So you want to make sure that you look at many different models so you understand exactly what options you like, what options you want, what options you're fine with not having, because you're really not going to get a fully optioned car. It's really hard to find, so you're gonna have to pick and choose which options you find more important. I say for me, my top options for the 957, you can't really change the seats. So for the 957, I want the multifunction steering wheel. I believe you could get a 3-spoke multifunction steering wheel for the 957. It's not going to be the sport steering wheel, but it's going to be a 3-spoke multifunction. I want that. I also want to have PCM. I want to have the nice center console. I want it to have air suspension, obviously. I want it to have PASM. It's going to have that. I also want it to have those special wheels. As I mentioned before, see if we can find them real quick. You want to find the Porsche. Let's see. Man, I know they have them somewhere here, man. Because these wheels, these aren't the only wheel options. Yeah, you want to find the GTS with these wheels. These wheels are going to be the best, most desirable wheels to find on GTS. And I think they look the best as well. So this is going to be for the 957. If you're going for the 958, I say the Turbo 2 wheels look the best. We can take a look at those as well. Those are going to be these Turbo 2 wheels. So most of them are going to come on these anyway. Or you could also get these wheels, which I like as well, these 21-inch Sport Edition wheels. So, or the RS Spider wheels. Those come on some cars as well. I don't really like the RS Spider wheels, but they do come stock on some 13 and 14 specialties. But I recommend staying with Sport Edition or the Turbo 2 if you're getting a 958. That being said, which model would I get? I highly suggest getting the 957, and this is why. The 957 is the face of the version of the 955, which is the OG Cayenne. This is what they built the car. This is what they originally designed the car to be. They designed it to be everything Porsche was known for, but in an off-road SUV sense. Therefore, they were known for the reliability and performance. Now you have a reliable and performance-oriented SUV. That's what the original 955 Cayenne was. And even the 957 being a facelift version carried on that same ethos. When you moved on to the 958, as I mentioned before, it's not nearly as capable as a vehicle. It doesn't have a transfer case. It doesn't have the locking diffs. It's just simply an all-wheel drive SUV. Granted, it was lighter. It was more capable on the road, meaning more capable, meaning that it was more practical. You got better gas mileage. It was easier to drive. It was more comfortable. But that was all at the expense of just a robust vehicle. It said, is Porsche a name for sports or for SUV or what? So no, Porsche, I mean, Porsche is the name of Porsche. It's the name of their brand. I'd say, I mean, what was Porsche known for now? On paper, they're known for their SUVs because the Macan and the Cayenne they're definitely the top selling models. So I'd say what Porsche is, the Porsche name means, in my opinion, superb engineering. That's what I think Porsche means in my head. It means endless revisions. It means the quest of perfection, because that's really what Porsche is when compared to other sports cars. Like the 911 is literally a quest for perfection. They've stayed on the same ethos and design for 70 years. They haven't changed where they want the engine. They haven't changed. Basically, I mean, obviously a lot has changed in terms of now it's turbo, standard, now it's water cooled, but it's still a 911. It still follows the same ethos. So Porsche is a name for engineering and beating a dead horse. That's what Porsche people are. They obsess over details and they only expect perfection. So that can be seen in the, isn't an oxymoron a 911 and an SUV? Oh, of course, yeah. I'd say I said this at the top of the show, but Porsche only produced this SUV because they wanted to have a bread and butter product that they would be able to sell, and basically keep their company afloat. So now they can produce a whole bunch of other cars. If the Cayenne and the Macan and the Panamera, frankly, weren't introduced, the cars, like the way the GT brand is now, the way Porsche is seen would not be the same. They wouldn't have the funds to be able to produce such technologically advanced cars. They wouldn't have the money to be able to experiment and make things perfect. Exactly. The Cayenne saved the company. And you'll see this with almost every sports car company. The SUV is saving the company. For example, Lamborghini, the Urus saved Lamborghini. The only reason why Lamborghini was able to keep producing their naturally aspirated V12s, their naturally aspirated V10s for so long, which they don't do anymore, which is such a shame, is because they had the Urus, or the Urus, whatever you want to call it, because, you know, try to be as factually sound as possible, but for lack of better terms, in American speak, the Urus saved Lamborghini because it allowed the company to basically have some breathing room. Not only was the SUV the most sold product of Lamborghini of all time, the Urus, but they didn't have to spend much money doing R&D on it. It was already an SUV, so that basically saved the company. You're seeing this with Ferrari as well. Not only does an SUV provide a company with the funds to be able to produce what it actually wants to, but it also, in terms of emissions, it's not as big of an issue in America as it is in Europe and stuff. But in terms of emissions, car companies have like an average emission in terms of all their cars for like across their lineup, SUVs, sports cars, trucks. They need to have a standard emission average, and these types of SUVs actually bring down that average so that the car company can continue to operate. So that's another reason why SUVs are introduced into a lineup, is to bring down the average emissions, even though it's weird because an SUV should be inefficient. But compared to most of these sports cars, for example, Lamborghini, the Urus is definitely going to have the best gas mileage out of the two. And yeah, the Urus is just a Q8 with a body kit. I mean, yeah, obviously all these VAG cars, the Q8, the Urus, the Bentayga, the Cayenne, the Atlas, they're all the same car underneath, but each car company does add its own flavor to the car. The Ferrari actually already is producing their own SUV. It's called the Puro Sangue, or something like that, the Puro Sang, or the Puro Sangue, whatever you want to call it. If you haven't heard of it, it's literally the coolest thing Ferrari has made in a while. Ferrari, well, yeah, we'll take a look at it. Yeah, you never heard of the Ferrari Puro Sangue? It's Ferrari SUV, V12, the only V12 naturally aspirated SUV on sale right now. reminiscent of the LM002 by Lamborghini. However, this is more of a sports car than a truck like the LM002, but it does share a naturally aspirated V12. Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't seen this. This car has been out. It's not out for sale. I don't know what's going on in terms of production on Ferrari's end, but lots of different, car YouTubers and stuff have had their hands on this, and you've seen plenty of videos, probably of it drifting around turns. Actually, I want to look at a video right now. Oh, wow. I meant to type that in on YouTube. You can see my homepage. Let's look at a drift, because there's so many videos of this thing drifting. Yeah, so take a look at this, man. I can't believe you haven't seen this. But yeah, Ferrari SUV. You'll see a lot of companies. The only car company that has not made an SUV is McLaren. The only like sports car company. So I think you'll be able to see a McLaren SUV in the works as well. I'm not sure if they're gonna keep it gas or electric. So that's something to be seen. But yeah, McLaren, they're pretty much the last ones to have an SUV. But every other car manufacturer, especially major car manufacturer, has an SUV simply because of the numbers. They need to be able to keep their standing as a valid car company, not only in having the money to produce cars, but also being an efficient car company. Yep. McLaren does not have one. Hey, and shout out to my man's Danny. He probably won't even watch this, but I don't know if you guys remember, like a couple days ago, I was talking about the debate between a GT3 and a 720S and how the GT3 is definitely a better car on paper and on the track, but the 720S is just such a better value in terms of not only your performance, but like just your street cred in general. Danny got a 720S. Shout out to Danny, man. He had the GT3, the 992 GT3. RIP, it's gone now, but now he has the 720S, and that's like I have to go up to Maryland at some point and go see it. We'll probably feature it on the channel for you guys, even though flexing with someone else's car is never the move. But I'm so excited. That's my best friend. He just got a 720S, and it's crazy because he's 27 years old, 28 years old. So big moves can be made, and hopefully I'll be there soon, Except for me, I'd rather have an Aventador. Aventador is definitely my dream car. I don't care if it's. I remember telling people how Aventador is my dream car, and they'd be like, "Oh, that's so cliche. Like everyone likes an Aventador." Aventador, I liked it first of all. I liked it in 2010, 2011 when it was being announced. I liked it when it got unveiled. And unlike everyone else, I really want an OG styled Aventador. So like not a 2012, obviously, because 2012 is the first model year and it had a bunch of transmission issues amongst a bunch of other things. I get a 2013 regular Aventador. I love the way the base model looks. And that's crazy. It sounds like I'm coping, but have you ever looked at an SVJ compared to an SV? My ultimate dream would obviously be an SV, but an SVJ compared to an SV, the SVJ looks overstyled. Yeah, I keep moving. I always go back to supercars. So yeah, I would just want an OG Aventador. That would be my dream car. I'd be happy with that. 270K-ish, probably. I could find a 2013 with like 20,000, 30,000 miles. I think 270K is like a lifetime supercar goal. I think that's attainable. What's that like? That's probably like 5 or 6K a month. So I'd have to try to figure out how I'm going to make 5 or 6K a month and just keep it on the side, but it's doable. It is definitely doable. If you guys don't have any more questions, I'm about to head out. It's almost been 2 hours here and I don't want to keep it too long. But yeah, if you haven't already, like the video, hit that like button down there. Also subscribe if you haven't. I put out videos 5 days a week. Life is short, man. I always have this discussion with people who don't want to, they don't think that a supercar is worth it, and I can see their points. A supercar is definitely not worth it. However, the intangible experience that you get from a supercar, from also the connections you get, are pretty worth it. Hey man, I appreciate that. I've been trying to get better as time goes on with the show, try to make it a little bit more entertaining. As you saw, I've included some videos in the beginning so people are more inclined to watch. But yeah, I appreciate that, man. Shout out to you, Jacob. And yeah, you're one of the best people in the chat. You're always here. You're always contributing. That's all I ask, is that if you're watching, man, just type in the chat. Be a part of the conversation. That's the reason why I go live. If I didn't want to talk to you guys, I'd just make a pre-recorded video. To be honest, at first, I'm going to be real with you guys. At first, I was doing lives because I didn't like editing. But the fact that I'm doing this live, it adds more work on the front end as opposed to the back end. If I was doing a pre-recorded show, I'd have to do recording and everything. I'd do the easy stuff at first, but then I'd have to record on the back end, edit on the back end, which takes way more time. With this live, I got to do all my preparation on the front end, and then the live happens, and then that's it. I initially did this because I thought it would be less work. However, now doing this show for 64 episodes, I'm realizing that this is just as much work as recording recording a video and editing later. I'm just doing all my work on the front end, but it has the added benefit of being live. So I say all that to say, I'm glad that I made a decision to keep going live because I was able to talk to people like you, Jacob. And so I'm glad you are here, always showing support, because it is actually, you know, helping me continue to do it live as opposed to going back to doing pre-recorded videos. But yeah, that pretty much wraps it up today. Shout out to GMC, shout out to Clean Whip, shout out to Jacob Black, all participating in the chat today. Who else was here? Yeah, shout out to all of y'all. Tomorrow, we're going to be continuing with our high performance SUV week. Let's see. I have my schedule right here. Let me, forgot what car I'm doing tomorrow. Tomorrow, we are going to be going over the OG X6M. So that's going to be 2010 to, I don't know when that ended, to be honest, but the X6M, very special car released by BMW. A lot of people think it's just a coupe version of the SUV, but it is a lot different in the way it's set up and the way it was planned out from the very beginning. I will see you guys tomorrow. And as always, have a great rest of your day. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you have a great Monday. And yeah, as always, peace and have a good one.